So you have finally decided to either upgrade from an older iPhone or finally decided to join the dark side, and you are confused between the iPhone 11 or the iPhone 12. Well, worry not, I'm here to help you make a decision. There are a few things that you must keep in mind before buying one of these phones, and hopefully by the end of this video you will have a clear winner. With that, let's get started with one of the most important features in a phone nowadays: battery life. Now on paper, the iPhone 11 has a clear advantage with its 3100 mAh battery, while the iPhone 12 has just 2800. In real world use, the exact opposite is true. As evident from a recent battery test between these phones with iOS 17, the clear winner was iPhone 12. This is a combination of a better chip along with a more efficient display. Now while charging speeds are basically identical between the two, the iPhone 12 has MagSafe, which I use every day for wireless charging. Hence, I prefer the iPhone 12. If having good battery life is at the top of your list while choosing either of these phones, the iPhone 12 is a clear winner. As always, be sure to check the battery health on any of these phones you plan on buying. But what if after all this talk about battery life you're like, Prince, this doesn't really matter to me? All that matters is a phone with a good camera system. So which one should I choose, the iPhone 11 or the newer iPhone 12? Well, that is where things get really interesting. I recently made a camera comparison video between the iPhone 11, 12 and 15. And the outcome of that video was that the 11 and 12 still have great camera systems. In most scenarios with good lighting, the photos between these phones are very similar. While the iPhone 11 does slightly better in some shots, the iPhone 12 does better in other shots. The end results were always pleasing to the eyes. Good colors, good dynamic range, and just a solid camera you could always rely on. While the ultrawide and the front cameras are identical, I did like the output of the iPhone 12 in some scenarios. Now that doesn't mean the iPhone 11 was bad in any case. The only minor advantage the iPhone 12 has over the 11 is the night mode support for ultrawide camera. Personally, I don't think it's a big deal. Just like still shots, the video quality on both these phones is basically identical. These phones can capture some amazing videos with good colors and dynamic range intact. I still shoot some of my B-roll shots for my videos with these iPhones, so that should give you a hint of how confident I am in these phones. I will also be more confident if you subscribe to the channel. That said, if having a good camera system is all that matters to you, you can't really go wrong with either of these phones. You can buy the iPhone 11, save some money and buy AirPods with that money. Or you could buy the iPhone 12 and get a slightly newer iPhone. Either way, you can't really go wrong with any of these phones based on camera quality. But what if battery life or cameras don't really matter to you? All that matters to you is having a good display, and you want to choose either of these phones based on the display quality. Well, in that case, it is actually a really easy decision. On paper, the iPhone 12 has a really big advantage with its OLED display that sports HDR10, Dolby Vision, and all other terms that mean nothing for most people. The iPhone 11 on the other hand has an LCD panel which is not even 1080p. But how do these phones stack up in real life? When you put these phones side by side, the first thing you notice is the bezel difference. The 12 just has slimmer bezels which look aesthetically pleasing. Now this is not going to make a huge difference as you do get used to the iPhone 11, but slimmer bezels are always nice to have. While using everyday apps like Instagram, TikTok and others, both phones look equally good. Only when you start nitpicking do you notice some differences. Firstly, with an OLED you get deeper blacks and better contrast. Secondly, while playing HDR content, it pops more on the iPhone 12. The colors look more saturated and pleasing on the iPhone 12. It also has a higher peak brightness of 1200 nits, which does come handy on sunny days. Now all this is only visible when you put these phones side by side. If you were to look at these phones individually, each phone would be more than enough for the everyday user. That said, I do have to give this one to the iPhone 12. The slimmer bezels along with a brighter display in sunny conditions is nice to have over the LCD of the iPhone 11. Okay, so we have discussed the 3 most important features to look out for when buying either of these phones. But what about some other miscellaneous things? Another big difference between these phones is the size. The iPhone 12 feels compact when compared to the iPhone 11. Now it's not by much, but it's certainly noticeable. Also, the iPhone 11 weighs 194 grams and you feel each of that gram in your hand. The 12 is strikingly lighter at just 164 grams. Put on a case and the iPhone 11 feels like a solid brick. Although the one thing I prefer in the 11 is the form factor. I'm not a huge fan of the 12's sharp design. The 11 is much more comfortable to hold in the hands with its curvier sides. Performance is similar on both phones. The iPhone 12 has the advantage of being a later release, so it gets a better chip, longer software support, and probably better performance down the line. So after all this discussion, you're like, which phone should I get, Prince? Well, if pricing isn't a concern, I would highly recommend the iPhone 12. It not only has a better display, a better battery life, better performance, newer chipset, but also longer software support, which is actually very important. But if pricing is a concern and the 11 is considerably cheaper than the 12, well then get the 11. You won't be disappointed. And that's it for this video guys. Subscribe and I'll catch you in the next one.